Yeah, welcome to the Messiah channel. We are an end time channel, and today we are asking the question: is Putin God's general? End time rule of Putin after the sounding of the final trumpet. Is Putin God's general? There are so many people who are considered as God's generals, and when we talk about who a God's general is, we are tempted to think about somebody who spread the gospel of our Lord and Savior. But if you look at the Bible, so many people have been used by God to serve some purposes of the kingdom. They were not necessarily people who were righteous. You can remember how the Lord used King Nebuchadnezzar, and how the Lord also used other kingdoms, the Assyrian Empire and the Babylonian Empire. And God even used King Cyrus to help the people of Israel to build the broken walls and to return to Jerusalem. So I'm asking the question, is Putin God's general? And I understand an Orthodox rabbi told Putin that God has chosen him for a purpose. And so Putin is in power at a time like this. It doesn't mean that Putin is a righteous person, but God decides to use people to achieve the purposes of the kingdom. I'm asking this question whether Putin is a God's general, partly because of the vision that I had about Putin. In the vision, I saw a man who had a KGB experience, and he was running with a long stick and a short stick. I interpret the long stick and the short stick as long-range missiles and short-range missiles. In another vision, I also heard a radio announcement. I was riding in the United States during the time of the vision, and I heard a radio announcement that Russia was going to attack the United States in 30 minutes. And so when I add those two visions together, then I realized that there is a biblical or prophetic connection between Putin and the United States. And there is an unfinished business. That unfinished business is the destruction of the United States. I have made consistent videos that I believe the U.S. is the Babylon spoken of in the book of Revelation, and the destiny of the United States is total destruction with fire. And I believe that we are living in the end times, and when we see the wars and rumors of wars and the tension between the U.S. and Russia going on, I look at those things in light of the visions that I've had about the United States and also about Putin himself. There is judgment on the United States, and I believe the judgment has already started, and I believe that the judgment will be completed. And when the judgment is complete, I believe the United States will utterly be destroyed, consistent with what the book of Revelation and other prophecies in the Bible have said about the United States. As I said, the Lord uses people to achieve his purposes, particularly to bring down nations that are arrogant, sinful nations. And Nebuchadnezzar was one of those leaders. The kingdom of Assyria is also one of those nations. Which nation will judge the United States? Which nations would the Lord use to judge the United States? Is it North Korea? Is it China? Is it Russia? It could be all those countries. It could even be Iran. But I believe that definitely Russia is one of the nations that the Lord will use against the United States. And as we are making this video, we can even look at the strategic balance of power between Russia and the United States. The US no longer holds military hegemony, and you can look at the profile of the weapons that Russia has vis-a-vis the weapons that the United States possesses. You can talk about the RS-28, the intercontinental ballistic missile. The experts call it the Samat, the RS-28 Samat, and they call it the Satan II missiles. And it is a missile that experts believe can destroy a large tract of land. It can even destroy the state of Texas. It can destroy the state of France. It can destroy Britain. Samat missile, RS-28, Satan II missile. The United States doesn't have an answer to that. Is Putin God's general? And as we are asking that question, remember what Medvedev, he was the former president of Russia, what he said. He said that the first angel has already sounded. And let's look at the Bible and let's look at what happened when the first angel sounded. Let's look at Revelation chapter 8, verse 7. Revelation chapter 8, verse 7. The first angel sounded, and there followed hail and fire mingled with blood, and they were cast upon the earth, and the third part of trees was burnt up, and all green grass was burnt up. So when the first angel sounded in the book of Revelation, you saw hail mingled with blood, and a third part of trees were destroyed. And so it's not a joke when the first angel of the apocalypse sounds. And it's interesting that Medvedev, the former president of the Russia Federation, is saying that the first angel of the book of Revelation, he was quoting from the book of Revelation. He knows the Bible. He has heard about the prophecy in the Bible, and he's saying that looking at the events going on between the US and Russia in Ukraine, the first angel of the apocalypse has already sounded. So they are quoting the Bible. President Biden is also quoting the Bible, invoking the Armageddon metaphor in saying that the US is preparing for nuclear Armageddon. And so all these things are happening when Putin is the president of Russia. And so I'm asking the question whether Putin is God's general. Ukraine wanted to join NATO, and Russia said that they would not acquiesce in Ukraine joining NATO. And Medvedev, the former president of Russia, is saying that even if Ukraine decides not to join NATO, it will not be sufficient. It will not be a sufficient concession for Russia to reverse the course that it has taken towards Ukraine. So Ukraine not joining NATO is no longer a sufficient guarantee. And he's saying that the first angel of the apocalypse has already sounded. And as we are aware, under Putin, Russia has acquired a lot of weapons, deadly weapons, and one of them is called the weapons of the apocalypse, and is the Belgorod submarine, nuclear submarine. Yeah, Belgorod nuclear submarine. It has been acquired by Russia, and Belgorod is the world's largest nuclear submarine, 603 feet long, and the main purpose of the Belgorod nuclear submarine is to carry 6 Poseidon nuclear torpedoes. And Poseidon nuclear torpedoes are special nuclear torpedoes. They are drones, and they can stay in the ocean for 120 days. They can be hiding in the ocean. And a Poseidon nuke is large. They can carry, they can cause a tsunami, 1,600 foot nuclear tsunami. A Poseidon nuke possessed by Russia can cause 1,600 foot nuclear tsunami. It can destroy cities. It can destroy coastlines. Entire coastlines can be destroyed. So Russia possesses the weapon of the apocalypse, and that is the Belgorod nuclear submarine that can carry 6 Poseidon drones, nuclear weapons that can destroy entire coastlands, including the coast of the United States. And as we are asking the question, is Putin God's general? We have to remember Putin's recent address on the occasion of the annexation of the 4 territories in Ukraine. Putin annexed 4 territories in Ukraine, and on the occasion of the annexation, Putin made a statement, a policy declaration. And in the policy declaration, he referred to the United States, USA, as United Satanists of America. United Satanists of America, not United States of America. So Putin was actually referring to the United States as United Satanists, a satanic state. Remember, America refers to other countries. They can call them rogue states, they can call them terrorist states, they can call them failed states, and Trump can even call them SHIT holes. Putin is calling the United States United Satanists of America. And so Putin is projecting himself as someone who is fighting against a satanic state. Is Putin God's general, a leader of a country fighting a nation, an empire that is satanic, United Satanists of America? Is Putin a God's general? Putin in the message also delved into history of Western colonialism and imperialism. And Putin also said that United States at the present of making this video is occupying Germany, the US is occupying Japan, the US is also occupying South Korea. So the US is an occupation nation. And Putin also said the US also engaged in slavery, slavery of people from all over the world, including the African slave trade. And if you look into the African slave trade, definitely we know it involved the enslavement of the children of Judah who were scattered to Africa as a result of the Jerusalem the fall of Jerusalem in AD 70, and they were subsequently enslaved, and they were rather kidnapped, they were captured, and then they were sent to the New World, including the United States, as slaves. And prophecy is saying that those people, the enslaved children of Judah, will be regathered. And it's a prophecy in Genesis chapter 15, verses 13 to 14, that God will revisit the descendants of Abraham who will be enslaved for 400 years, and then God will visit them. And at the end of the 400 years, which ended in 2019, from 1619 to 2019, and now we are in 2022, and Putin is talking about the enslavement of Africans, and Putin is accusing the United States of involvement in that enslavement. And we are waiting for a time when the scattered of Judah will be liberated, will be regathered. And Putin is making a reference to that enslavement. And all the things that Putin said about the United States, that the U.S. is United Satanists of America, and involved in colonialism, imperialism, involved in slavery, involved in ethnic extermination, killing of people. Remember the history of American Indians, the Native Americans in America who were exterminated, talking about lynching, talking about other acts of ethnic extermination in the United States. You will actually note that the book of Revelation chapter 18 devotes a whole chapter on the fate of Babylon in the end times, that the iniquities of Babylon will be remembered, and God will give Babylon a double portion of her own cup, the cup of wrath, and Babylon will go into captivity, and Babylon will be destroyed for killing all the prophets of this world. And so when Putin makes a scathing attack on the United States, the question that you will be tempted to ask is Putin God's general? Even though Putin is not a righteous person, is he the man God is using, or is he the man God will use to bring down the United States? It's a question that I'm asking because of the vision that I've had about Putin rushing with a long stick and a short stick, and also because of the vision, another vision that I had, where it was reported through a radio announcement that Russia was going to attack the United States in 30 minutes. And as long as Putin lives, the United States will be in trouble because Putin has vowed to challenge American hegemony, American imperialism, and American enslavement, and America's agenda for the new world order. So somebody is putting the United States in check and is doing the bidding for God. Putin made statements about the cultural revolution going on in America, where there are a lot of confusion about genders, and Putin is talking about America's attack on human values because of the so many cultural policies going on in the United States regarding genders and regarding things that are abominable in the sight of the Lord. And nobody's saying it, but Putin is saying it. and he said it publicly in a very scathing rebuke of the United States, in a very scathing attack on the United States. And Putin is actually threatening to use nuclear weapons against the United States, and is putting the United States in check. So it's Putin God's general. And when you see that the greatest power in the world is being humbled and is on the verge of being attacked, and when we see the United States on the verge of collapsing, we are watching end time events unfolding before our eyes. And so the question we ask is Putin God's general? And what role is Putin playing in the end times? We're asking all this question because the final trumpet of heaven has sounded based on a vision that I had on August 27, 2013, when in the vision I saw somebody coming from behind me, and as I turned my head to see him, he told me, "You must look for the angel who sounded the seventh trumpet." And so we are seeing President Putin putting America in check and threatening to use nuclear weapons against the United States. We are seeing Putin holding possession of a large amount of nuclear weapons that America doesn't have any answer to. America cannot defend those weapons, whether we're talking about the RS-28 Samad Sit-2 missiles, or we are talking about the Belgorod nuclear submarines that carries 6 Poseidon nuclear drones that is capable of creating nuclear tsunami that can wipe out the entire coastal states of the United States. Is Putin God's general? And what is his role in the end times? Thank you for listening to this message.